Step into the role of the steady presence in the crowded room. Be the one who listens rather than reacts, who understands rather than judges, who responds rather than retaliates. In doing so, you'll discover not just the power of emotional mastery, but the freedom that comes with it, a freedom that allows you to live with intention, resilience, and unwavering strength. Imagine standing at the edge of a quiet forest, surrounded by towering trees and the soft rustling of leaves. You feel a calm that seems to emanate from the very ground beneath you. This is the kind of peace that comes from self-compassion, a deep and abiding kindness toward yourself, even in the face of failure, regret, or imperfection. It's not an indulgence, it's a necessity for living a balanced, resilient life. Self-compassion was not always a part of my journey. I used to be my harshest critic, holding myself to impossibly high standards and berating myself for every misstep. Every mistake felt monumental, every shortcoming unforgivable. It wasn't until I stumbled upon the simple idea of treating myself with the same kindness I would offer a dear friend that things began to shift. Why was it so easy to comfort someone else in their struggles, yet so difficult to extend that same grace to myself? The practice of self-compassion begins with acknowledgement. It's about recognizing your pain or frustration without judgment. I remember a moment when I made a significant error at work, one that could have been avoided with more attention to detail. My immediate reaction was to criticize myself harshly, replaying the mistake over and over in my mind. But then, I paused and asked, if a friend came to me with this story, how would I respond? I realized I would offer them understanding, perspective, and encouragement. So I decided to do the same for myself. This simple act of kindness toward myself felt transformative. Instead of sinking into a spiral of self-doubt, I acknowledged the mistake, took responsibility, and focused on what I could learn from it. Self-compassion didn't erase the consequences of my actions, but it allowed me to move forward with clarity and resolve, rather than being paralyzed by guilt. Mindfulness is a crucial component of self-compassion. It's about being present with your emotions, neither suppressing nor exaggerating them. When I feel overwhelmed, I often take a few moments to sit quietly, focus on my breath, and simply notice what I'm feeling. Instead of labeling emotions as good or bad, I observe them as passing clouds in the sky of my mind. This practice helps me create space between myself and my feelings, making it easier to respond with kindness. Another powerful practice is reframing your inner dialogue. Listen to the way you talk to yourself during difficult times. Are your words harsh and unforgiving, or do they reflect understanding and encouragement? For me, replacing self-criticism with self-encouragement was a gradual process. I started small, countering negative thoughts with affirmations like, "It's okay to make mistakes. I'm learning and growing." Self-compassion doesn't mean avoiding accountability or excusing harmful behavior. It means approaching yourself with honesty and kindness, recognizing that being human inherently involves making mistakes. This perspective not only nurtures emotional resilience, but also empowers you to make meaningful changes. Compassion extends beyond ourselves to others. When we treat ourselves with kindness, we become more empathetic and understanding toward the people in our lives. I found that as I practiced self-compassion, my relationships deepened. I became less judgmental, more patient, and more present. It's as though the kindness I cultivated within me overflowed, touching everyone around me. Stoicism teaches us to accept what we cannot control, while focusing on what we can. This philosophy aligns beautifully with self-compassion. We cannot control every outcome, nor can we avoid every mistake, but we can choose how we respond to ourselves in the aftermath. By embracing imperfection as part of the human experience, we free ourselves from the impossible burden of perfection and allow room for growth. Think of a time when you were hard on yourself. What would it have been like to respond with compassion instead? To acknowledge your pain without judgment, to offer yourself the understanding you would extend to someone you love. This shift is not always easy, but it's profoundly liberating. In practicing self-compassion, you learn to see yourself not as a problem to be fixed, but as a whole, complex and worthy person. You begin to trust that your worth is not determined by your successes or failures, but by the simple fact of your humanity. And in that trust you find a deep and unshakable peace. Let self-compassion be your guide as you navigate life's challenges. Treat yourself with kindness, embrace your imperfections, and recognize that you are deserving of the same care and understanding you so readily give to others. In doing so, you'll not only transform your relationship with yourself, but also radiate a warmth and empathy that enriches the world around you. This is the power of self-compassion, a power that can heal, uplift, and inspire, one moment of kindness at a time. Imagine standing at a crossroads in your life, uncertainty swirling around you like a mist. Each path before you leads to a different version of your future, but fear grips you, holding you back from taking even the first step. This fear, though heavy and intimidating, is not an enemy. It is a guide, pointing to areas where you have the greatest potential to grow. Learning to face fear and transform it into courage is one of the most empowering journeys you can undertake. Fear is a universal experience, one that has the power to paralyze or propel us forward. I remember a time when the thought of public speaking filled me with dread. My heart would race, my palms would sweat, and I would do everything in my power to avoid it. But avoidance only amplified the fear, turning it into an insurmountable obstacle. It wasn't until I decided to confront it head-on that things began to change. The first step to overcoming fear is acknowledging it. Pretending it doesn't exist only gives it more power. I started by admitting to myself that public speaking terrified me. Then I asked, what exactly am I afraid of? For me, it was the fear of failure, of being judged, of not meeting expectations. Naming these fears brought them out of the shadows and into the light, where I could begin to address them. Preparation became my ally. I took small, manageable steps to face my fear. I began by speaking in front of a mirror, then to a trusted friend, and eventually to small groups. Each step was uncomfortable, but it built confidence. With every experience, I learned something new, not just about public speaking, but about myself. I discovered strengths I didn't know I had, and with each small victory, the fear lost some of its grip. Another powerful tool was reframing fear as a sign of growth. Instead of seeing it as a signal to retreat, I began to view it as an opportunity. Fear often arises when we are stepping out of our comfort zone, which is precisely where growth happens. I asked myself, what if this fear is a doorway to something amazing? This mindset shift turned fear from a barrier into a motivator. Visualization was a game changer. Before stepping onto a stage, I would close my eyes and imagine myself speaking confidently, the audience engaged and receptive. I focused on the feeling of accomplishment I would have afterward. This mental rehearsal helped me replace fear of failure with anticipation of success, allowing me to approach the experience with a sense of purpose rather than dread. Stoicism teaches us that fear is often rooted in anticipation rather than reality. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wisdom reminded me that while I couldn't control every outcome, I could control how I prepared for and responded to the experience. By focusing on what was within my power, I found the courage to move forward. Facing fear also means accepting the possibility of failure. There were times when my speeches didn't go as planned, when I stumbled over words or felt I didn't connect with the audience. But instead of letting these moments define me, I chose to learn from them. Failure became a teacher, showing me areas for improvement and building my resilience. Fear isn't limited to big, dramatic moments. It shows up in our everyday lives. It might be the fear of asking for help, pursuing a new career, or starting a difficult conversation. In each case, the process of confronting and overcoming it is the same. Acknowledge the fear, break it into smaller steps, and take action despite the discomfort. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to act in its presence. Reflect on a fear you've been avoiding. What would it feel like to take the first step toward facing it? Perhaps it's a conversation you've been putting off, a skill you've been hesitant to learn, or a dream you've been afraid to pursue. Imagine the freedom and growth that lie on the other side of that fear. Courage is a skill, one that strengthens with practice. Each time you face a fear, no matter how small, you build the muscle of bravery. You prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you imagined, and with each victory, fear loses its power over you. Let fear guide you to your greatest opportunities for growth. Treat it not as an obstacle, but as a signal that you're on the brink of transformation. Take a deep breath. Take that first step and trust in your ability to rise to the challenge. In doing so, you'll discover a reservoir of strength and courage within you, waiting to be unleashed. Fear may be a part of your journey, but it does not have to define your destination. Imagine yourself standing on the shore of a vast ocean, watching as the waves rise and fall. The tides are beyond your control, but you notice how they follow a rhythm, a natural flow. This is the essence of detachment, learning to let go of the need to control the uncontrollable and finding peace in simply being present with what is. Detachment is not a withdrawal from life, but a profound engagement with it, free from the weight of attachment and expectation. For much of my life, I believed that holding on tightly, whether to relationships, goals, or outcomes, was the way to secure happiness. But the tighter I held, the more anxious and dissatisfied I became. It was only when I began to loosen my grip, to allow things to unfold naturally, that I discovered a sense of freedom I had never known. Detachment begins with acceptance. It's about recognizing what you can and cannot control. I remember a time when I poured my energy into a project I was deeply passionate about. Despite my best efforts, things didn't go as planned, and I felt crushed. But then, I shifted my focus from the outcome to the process itself. I realized that while I couldn't control the end result, I could take pride in the effort and creativity I had invested. This acceptance brought a surprising sense of peace, even amidst disappointment. Stoicism teaches us to distinguish between what is within our power and what is not. Epictetus said, "It is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them." This wisdom became a guiding principle for me. By letting go of my attachment to specific outcomes, I was able to approach challenges with greater clarity and resilience. Instead of being consumed by worry or frustration, I could focus on what truly mattered: my actions, my choices, and my attitude. One of the most powerful practices in cultivating detachment is mindfulness. By grounding myself in the present moment, I learned to let go of regrets about the past and anxieties about the future. I remember sitting by a river one afternoon, watching the water flow effortlessly around rocks and bends. In that moment, I felt a deep sense of calm, a reminder that life, like the river, will always find its way. Detachment also means releasing the need for validation from others. For a long time, I measured my worth by the approval of those around me. But no matter how much praise I received, it was never enough. When I began to detach from the need for external validation, I discovered a deeper, more enduring sense of self-worth. It came not from what others thought of me, but from living in alignment with my values and being true to myself. This practice extends to material possessions as well. We often tie our happiness to things, believing that acquiring more will bring fulfillment. But true detachment means appreciating what you have without being enslaved by the desire for more. I once challenged myself to declutter my life, letting go of items I no longer needed or valued. What remained were the things that truly mattered, and with them came a newfound sense of freedom and simplicity. Detachment doesn't mean indifference or apathy. It's about engaging fully with life while releasing the need to control its flow. Imagine being in a relationship where you love deeply, but without trying to mold the other person into your expectations. This kind of detachment allows love to flourish in its purest form, unburdened by the weight of control or possessiveness. Consider how often attachment to specific outcomes causes stress and disappointment. Whether it's a job interview, a relationship, or a personal goal, the tighter we cling, the harder it is to adapt when things don't go as planned. Detachment allows us to remain open to possibilities, to pivot gracefully when life takes an unexpected turn. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." This simple yet profound wisdom captures the essence of detachment. It's a reminder to embrace life's gifts with gratitude while holding them lightly, knowing that change is the only constant. Reflect on what you might be clinging to in your life. Is it an expectation, a relationship, or an idea of how things should be? What would it feel like to release that attachment and trust in the natural flow of life? Detachment doesn't mean giving up. It means showing up fully while letting go of the need to control every detail. In practicing detachment, you create space for peace, clarity, and joy to enter your life. You learn to trust that what is meant for you will come, and what is not will pass. This trust frees you from the weight of constant striving and allows you to embrace each moment with an open heart. Let go and watch as life unfolds in ways more beautiful and surprising than you could have imagined. Imagine climbing a mountain, each step taking you higher, the air thinner, the path steeper. You pause to catch your breath and look back at the trail you've conquered, realizing how far you've come. This ascent mirrors the journey of self-discipline, a challenging yet rewarding climb toward a life of purpose, focus, and fulfillment. Self-discipline isn't about rigidity or denying joy. It's about directing your energy toward what truly matters, creating a life aligned with your values and aspirations. Self-discipline begins with understanding your why. Why do you want to achieve a goal? Why is it important to you? I learned this lesson while trying to adopt a healthier lifestyle. I had tried and failed countless times because my motivation was superficial, a fleeting desire to look better or fit a trend. It wasn't until I connected the goal to something deeper, a desire to feel strong, energetic, and capable in my daily life, that I found the resolve to commit. Habits are the foundation of self-discipline. They transform lofty goals into actionable, sustainable steps. I started small, focusing on one habit at a time. Instead of overhauling my entire routine, I committed to a 10-minute morning workout. Over time, that simple habit grew into a consistent exercise routine that became second nature. The key was not perfection, but persistence, showing up every day, even when motivation waned. There were moments when temptation whispered in my ear, urging me to skip a workout or indulge in habits that didn't serve my goals. In those moments, I leaned on the power of visualization. I would close my eyes and picture the long-term rewards of staying disciplined, the energy I'd feel, the confidence I'd gain, the sense of accomplishment that would outweigh any fleeting pleasure. This practice strengthened my resolve and helped me stay focused on the bigger picture. Time management became another pillar of self-discipline. I realized how often I let distractions derail my plans. To combat this, I began planning my days with intention, blocking out time for focused work, rest, and self-care. This structure didn't feel restrictive. It felt liberating, giving me the clarity to prioritize what mattered most. When I stuck to my schedule, I noticed how much more I accomplished, and that success fueled my determination to keep going. Self-discipline also requires self-compassion. There were days when I stumbled, when I didn't follow through on my intentions. In the past, I would let those missteps spiral into guilt and self-sabotage. But I learned to approach them with understanding, treating them as opportunities to reflect and recommit. Progress is not linear, and setbacks are part of the journey. What matters is how you respond, whether you choose to learn and move forward or give up entirely. Stoicism offered a powerful perspective, the idea that we should focus on what is within our control. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." This reminded me that self-discipline is not about achieving perfection overnight, but about consistently taking small steps toward growth. Each decision, no matter how minor, contributes to the larger picture of your life. As I practiced self-discipline, I noticed its ripple effects. It wasn't just about achieving goals. It was about becoming the kind of person who could achieve them. I felt more confident, more capable, and more in tune with my values. This internal transformation extended to other areas of my life, strengthening my relationships, improving my work, and deepening my sense of purpose. Reflect on an area of your life where self-discipline could make a difference. Maybe it's a skill you've always wanted to develop, a health goal you've been putting off, or a project that feels overwhelming. Start small, commit to one actionable step today, and follow through. Celebrate your progress no matter how modest, and let it fuel your motivation to keep going. Remember, self-discipline is not about restricting yourself. It's about freeing yourself from the chaos of distractions and impulsive decisions. It's about aligning your actions with your values, creating habits that support your growth, and becoming the best version of yourself. With every step you take up that mountain, you'll find that the view becomes clearer, the air sweeter, and the sense of accomplishment unmatched. The climb is worth it, not just for the destination, but for the strength and resilience you build along the way. Imagine sitting quietly by a campfire, the flames dancing in the darkness. You feel the warmth on your skin and hear the gentle crackle of the wood. This moment of stillness is rare in a world that moves at a relentless pace, demanding your attention at every turn. Yet, within this stillness lies an opportunity, a chance to find clarity, connect with your true self, and rediscover the beauty of silence. Silence is often misunderstood. Many see it as emptiness, a void to be filled with noise or activity. But I've come to see silence as a sanctuary, a space where we can hear the whispers of our own hearts. For a long time I feared silence. It felt uncomfortable, like an awkward pause in a conversation. I filled every quiet moment with distractions, music, conversations, scrolling through my phone. It wasn't until I began to embrace silence that I realized its profound power. The journey began with small steps. I started setting aside a few minutes each morning to simply sit in silence. No phone, no agenda, just me and the stillness. At first, my mind rebelled, racing with thoughts and to-do lists. But as I practiced, I began to notice something remarkable. The noise within me started to quiet. In that silence, I found a clarity that had been drowned out by the constant chatter of daily life. Silence is where self-reflection thrives. Without the distractions of noise, we can turn inward and explore our thoughts, emotions, and desires. I remember sitting in a quiet park one afternoon, reflecting on a decision I was struggling with. In the absence of external input, I was able to hear my own intuition more clearly. The answer didn't come from outside, it came from within. This inner dialogue is where we find our truest selves. In silence, we can separate our authentic voice from the opinions and expectations of others. We can ask ourselves questions like, what do I really want? What truly matters to me? These questions, answered honestly in the quiet, have the power to guide our lives with purpose and integrity. Silence also teaches us to listen, not just to ourselves but to others. In conversations, we often focus on what we'll say next, rather than truly hearing what the other person is saying. Practicing silence helps us develop the patience to listen deeply, to understand rather than react. This simple act can transform our relationships, fostering connection and empathy. Mindfulness is a natural extension of silence. When we embrace stillness, we become more attuned to the present moment. I remember walking through a forest, each step deliberate, the sound of leaves crunching underfoot. With no music in my ears or distractions in my hands, I noticed details I had overlooked before. The patterns on the bark of trees, the play of sunlight on the ground, the faint scent of pine in the air. Silence allowed me to experience the richness of the moment fully. Stoicism offers valuable insights into the power of silence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence." This wisdom reminds us that silence can be a powerful response, not an act of avoidance, but a choice to pause, reflect, and respond with intention rather than impulse. In silence, we find the space to consider our actions and their consequences. Embracing silence doesn't mean withdrawing from the world. It means engaging with it more fully. By stepping away from the noise, we gain the clarity to see what truly matters. We create a foundation of calm and focus that allows us to face challenges with resilience and grace. Reflect on your own relationship with silence. When was the last time you allowed yourself to sit quietly, without distraction? What might you discover if you gave yourself permission to embrace the stillness? Start small, perhaps 5 minutes a day, and let that time be a gift to yourself. In the quiet, you'll find a depth of understanding and peace that no amount of noise can provide. Silence is not empty, it is full of potential. It is a space where we can reconnect with ourselves, listen deeply to others, and experience the world with fresh eyes. In a world that never stops moving, silence is a radical act of self-care and empowerment. Embrace it and let it guide you to a life of greater clarity, connection, and purpose. In the stillness, you'll discover the answers you've been seeking, waiting quietly for you all along. Imagine the sun setting on a quiet horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. This is the moment where everything slows, where you find yourself standing still, looking back at the journey you've walked and forward to the possibilities that lie ahead. It's a moment of reflection, of understanding that life is not about perfection, but about progress. Not about rushing, but about savoring. And not about seeking approval, but about embracing authenticity. Living authentically means stripping away the layers of societal expectations and discovering who you truly are. It's about having the courage to live a life aligned with your values, regardless of what others may think. For a long time, I felt trapped by the need to please others. I shaped my actions and decisions around what I thought would earn approval, but it left me feeling hollow. The turning point came when I asked myself a simple yet profound question: what do I want? The answer wasn't immediate, but it began a journey of self-discovery that transformed my life. Authenticity requires honesty, first with yourself, then with the world. It's about owning your story, the victories and the struggles, without apology. I remember a time when I hesitated to share a failure, afraid it would tarnish others' perception of me. But when I finally spoke openly, I found that vulnerability didn't alienate people. It connected us. Authenticity invites others to show up as their true selves, creating relationships built on trust and mutual respect. Part of embracing authenticity is letting go of the fear of judgment. We spend so much energy worrying about how we're perceived. But the truth is, others are often too preoccupied with their own lives to scrutinize ours. When I stopped seeking validation from others, I found a freedom I didn't know was possible. I could finally make choices based on what felt right for me, not what I thought would please or impress someone else. Another critical element is learning to say no. Authentic living requires boundaries, knowing when to give and when to protect your energy. For years, I said yes to everything, afraid of disappointing others. But over time, I realized that every yes to something I didn't want was a no to something I did. Saying no isn't selfish, it's an act of self-respect. It's a way of honoring your time, your values, and your priorities. Stoicism teaches us the importance of aligning our actions with our inner principles. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This wisdom reminds us that authenticity isn't about talking about your values, it's about living them. Each decision, no matter how small, is an opportunity to practice integrity. Living authentically also means embracing imperfection. We often fall into the trap of thinking we need to have everything figured out before we can truly live. But the beauty of authenticity lies in its messiness, in the willingness to show up as you are, even when you don't have all the answers. I've learned that it's okay to be a work in progress, to celebrate the growth that comes from trying, failing, and learning. Reflect on what authenticity means to you. When do you feel most aligned with your true self? What brings you joy, purpose, and fulfillment? The answers to these questions can guide you toward a life that feels deeply your own. Authenticity is not a destination, but a daily practice, a choice to honor who you are and what matters most to you. As you step forward, remember that the path of authenticity is not always easy, but it is always worth it. It may require courage, vulnerability, and persistence, but it also brings freedom, joy, and a profound sense of fulfillment. Live boldly, love deeply, and speak your truth with kindness. In doing so, you'll create a life that reflects the unique brilliance of who you are. The journey to authenticity is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. It's a journey that leads not only to personal fulfillment, but to a life that inspires others to do the same. Stand in your truth, embrace your imperfections, and walk forward with unwavering courage. The world doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be you. That is your greatest strength, your greatest contribution, and your greatest joy. Why wait for things to get better when you can begin transforming your life from within? Picture your mind as a garden, ready to be nurtured and cultivated. Instead of trying to reshape the external world, why not start by planting the seeds of change within yourself? It's a truth many overlook. When you focus inward, you unlock the unimaginable. This is your opportunity to embrace the wisdom and lessons that have the power to elevate you beyond the boundaries of what you once believed possible. Words carry energy, and today they are here to nourish your spirit and remind you of the strength that lies dormant, waiting to be awakened. Imagine yourself adrift in stormy seas, waves crashing, winds howling, and the sky an ominous blend of grey and black. Yet, amidst the chaos, you remain focused, unshaken, with your eyes fixed on the horizon. This calm resilience captures the essence of ataraxia, the art of inner peace. It's about finding tranquility not in the absence of life's challenges, but in the mastery of them. Life is full of storms, unexpected setbacks, personal struggles, professional chaos. These waves test our balance, but the power to remain unshaken lies in our ability to center ourselves amidst them. Think about Marcus Aurelius's wisdom. Perfect tranquility consists in the good ordering of the mind. What does it take to achieve such mastery? It's about building mental fortitude through consistent practice. Each morning, visualize the challenges of the day and imagine yourself calmly navigating through them. This mental rehearsal isn't just preparation, it's empowerment. It's how you train your mind to remain steady, no matter how turbulent the waters of life become. When the mind is calm, it becomes an ally, offering clarity and focus that strong emotions often obscure. Decisions made in a state of ataraxia are not just rational, they are deeply aligned with your values and long-term vision. Reflect on the times when stress drove you to reactive decisions. Now imagine how different those outcomes could have been if approached with calm intentionality. To develop this strength, try daily mindfulness exercises. Practice observing your breath, anchoring yourself in the present moment, and letting go of concerns about the past or future. Small acts, such as journaling your gratitudes or embracing challenges as opportunities for growth, help lay the foundation for a steady mind. Imagine preparing yourself mentally for the unexpected by visualizing the worst-case scenarios. This exercise isn't about fear, it's about fortifying your resolve. When the unexpected happens, it won't feel as jarring because you've already envisioned and emotionally rehearsed your response. Gratitude journals, too, are profound tools. When you make a habit of acknowledging the good in your life, you create a sense of peace and contentment that shields you from the pull of negativity. Each step you take toward ataraxia brings you closer to a life where storms don't define your journey, but enhance your growth. Imagine what it would be like to live with a calm, clear mind, a state where peace isn't the absence of challenges, but your steady companion through them. Embrace this path and watch as your inner strength transforms not just your life, but the lives of those around you. Now think about willpower as the engine that drives you forward, even when the road is steep and the journey uncertain. Challenges come, testing your resolve, but every obstacle is an opportunity to train your will. I remember a time when failure seemed inevitable and every effort felt futile. It was then that I realized the true power of will is not in avoiding difficulty, but in embracing it as a chance to grow. To cultivate willpower, break overwhelming tasks into manageable steps. Each small victory builds momentum, creating a sense of accomplishment that propels you toward your goals. I recall working on a daunting report, feeling paralyzed by its magnitude, but by focusing on completing one section at a time, I turned an insurmountable task into a series of achievable milestones. This strategy not only made the process less intimidating, but also instilled confidence with every step forward. Procrastination is the enemy of willpower. It tempts us with the illusion of ease, but ultimately delays our progress. Overcoming it requires discipline, creating schedules, setting boundaries, and holding yourself accountable. Every time you resist procrastination, you strengthen your ability to focus and achieve. Reflect on figures like Marcus Aurelius, whose disciplined approach to life enabled him to lead with wisdom and integrity. His writings remind us that strength of will isn't just about persistence, but about aligning actions with purpose. When you approach challenges with a trained will, they become opportunities to refine your character. Every setback transforms into a stepping stone, guiding you toward resilience and self-mastery. Consider your willpower as a muscle that grows stronger with each use. The more you engage it, the more equipped you become to face life's uncertainties with courage and determination. As you embark on this journey of self-mastery, remember, the real battle is within. By cultivating inner calm and harnessing your willpower, you create a life of purpose, strength, and unshakable peace. These principles are not just lessons, they are the foundation for a transformed life. Imagine standing in the midst of a storm, the winds relentless, the rain pelting down, and the ground beneath you slick and unstable. But instead of fighting the storm, you plant your feet firmly, allowing yourself to sway with the gusts without losing your balance. This is the essence of acceptance and resilience, a mindset that transforms life's most turbulent moments into opportunities for growth. There was a time in my life when everything seemed to unravel at once. A job I loved slipped through my fingers, leaving me feeling untethered. At first, I resisted the reality, consumed by frustration and regret. But then a quiet realization took root. While I couldn't change the circumstances, I could change my response to them. Acceptance wasn't about giving up, it was about finding strength in surrender. By letting go of what I couldn't control, I freed myself to focus on what I could. A new direction, a new opportunity, and ultimately, a new sense of purpose. Think of resilience as a muscle, one that grows stronger every time it's tested. Every difficulty is a chance to fortify yourself, to prove that no matter how harsh the storm, you have the power to weather it. Resilience doesn't come from pretending the storm isn't there. It comes from acknowledging its presence while refusing to let it define you. Meditation became my anchor during those turbulent times. Each morning, I would sit in stillness, focusing on my breath and letting go of the tension that clung to me. In that quiet space, I found clarity, a clarity that allowed me to approach challenges not with fear, but with calm determination. This practice of mindfulness helped me to see problems as temporary, no longer insurmountable, and it gave me the courage to face them head-on. Gratitude, too, played a pivotal role in transforming my perspective. Each night, I would reflect on the day, finding even the smallest things to be thankful for. A kind word, a moment of laughter, a warm meal. These moments of gratitude became beacons of light in the darkness, reminding me that even in the midst of struggle, there is always something to hold on to. It's not just about enduring the storm, it's about learning to dance in the rain. When you shift your focus from what you've lost to what you still have, you cultivate a mindset of abundance. This perspective doesn't erase pain or hardship, but it makes room for hope and possibility to grow alongside them. Resilience is also about adaptability. Imagine a tree in a fierce windstorm. The branches that bend survive, while those that resist are broken. In the same way, flexibility is key to navigating life's uncertainties. I began to approach setbacks not as roadblocks, but as detours, leading me to paths I might not have explored otherwise. What once felt like failure became an invitation to grow and evolve. When uncertainty looms, as it so often does, the practice of staying grounded in the present moment becomes invaluable. Worrying about the future only amplifies fear, while dwelling on the past traps us in regret. By anchoring yourself in the now, you create space for resilience to flourish. Each moment is an opportunity to act, to learn, and to move forward. The teachings of Stoicism have been a guiding force in this journey. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." This wisdom reminds us that while we can't control external events, we have absolute power over our internal response. By choosing thoughts that empower rather than diminish, we shape a life of resilience and strength. Acceptance is not passive. It is an active embrace of reality, paired with the courage to move forward. It's about finding the balance between letting go of what you cannot change and fiercely pursuing what you can. This balance is where true resilience lives, a place of inner strength that no external force can shake. Reflect on your own life. Think of a challenge that once felt overwhelming. How did you respond? What did you learn? Each experience, no matter how difficult, carries within it the seeds of growth. By nurturing those seeds, you cultivate a resilience that will serve you not just in moments of crisis, but in every aspect of life. Resilience and acceptance are not destinations, but lifelong practices. They require patience, persistence, and a willingness to face discomfort. Yet, the rewards are profound. A life lived with grace, strength, and an unshakable sense of peace. Let these principles guide you and watch as they transform not just how you navigate life's storms, but how you emerge from them, stronger, wiser, and more alive than ever before. Picture yourself standing on the edge of a vast ocean at dawn. The waves roll in rhythmically, unchanging yet ever-moving, a reflection of life's constant ebb and flow. There's a certain beauty in surrendering to the tides rather than resisting them, in learning to harmonize with life's rhythm instead of struggling against it. This is the art of letting go, a powerful practice that liberates the soul and brings peace to the heart. Letting go is not about giving up. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of expectations, grudges, and attachments that no longer serve you. I learned this truth during a time when I clung desperately to a situation that had already slipped beyond my control. The more I tried to hold on, the heavier the burden became, until it was too much to bear. Only when I released my grip did I feel the lightness of freedom, like a bird untangling its wings and taking flight. Think of the energy we expend trying to control the uncontrollable. We replay conversations in our minds, wishing we had said something different. We hold on to anger, letting it fester and grow. We cling to relationships, jobs, or dreams that no longer align with who we are. But what if, instead of resisting, we chose to release? What if we allowed life to flow naturally, trusting that every ending makes space for a new beginning? I remember vividly the day I chose to let go of resentment I had carried for years. The anger I felt toward someone who had wronged me was like a stone in my chest, heavy and unrelenting. I realized finally that this anger was doing more harm to me than to the person it was directed at. So I let it go, not as an act of forgiveness for their sake, but as a gift of freedom to myself. The weight lifted, and in its place came a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. Letting go also applies to the expectations we place on ourselves. Perfectionism, a relentless pursuit of an unattainable ideal, kept me trapped in a cycle of self-criticism and disappointment. Every flaw, every mistake felt like a personal failure. But when I began to release the need to be perfect, I discovered the beauty of imperfection. Each flaw became a unique brushstroke on the canvas of my life, a reminder that growth often comes from our messiest moments. One of the most transformative practices in my journey of letting go has been mindfulness. By anchoring myself in the present moment, I learned to release the grip of past regrets and future anxieties. The past cannot be changed, and the future is uncertain. All we truly have is now. In this moment, I found freedom, a space unburdened by what was or what might be, where I could simply be. Gratitude, too, became a guiding light. By focusing on what I had rather than what I lacked, I shifted my perspective from scarcity to abundance. I began to see the gifts in my life, even in the smallest details: a warm cup of tea, a kind smile from a stranger, the simple joy of a quiet evening. Gratitude turned what I had into enough, and in doing so, it made letting go of what I didn't have easier. Stoicism teaches us that attachment often leads to suffering. Epictetus said, "You are disturbed not by the things themselves, but by your interpretations of them." This wisdom encourages us to reframe our thinking, to view loss not as a tragedy, but as a natural part of life's cycle. Every ending carries within it the seed of a new beginning. By letting go, we make room for growth, transformation, and the unexpected joys that life has in store. Imagine a tree in autumn shedding its leaves in preparation for winter. It doesn't resist the process. It lets go gracefully, trusting that spring will bring new life. In the same way, we can learn to release what no longer serves us, trusting that what's meant for us will come in its own time. Letting go isn't easy. It requires courage, patience, and faith. But the rewards are immeasurable: a lighter heart, a clearer mind, and the freedom to move forward unencumbered. Reflect on what you might be holding on to. Is it a past mistake, a painful memory, a relationship that's run its course? Whatever it is, consider the possibility of letting it go. Imagine how it would feel to set down that burden, to walk forward unburdened and free. Letting go is not an act of weakness. It's a declaration of strength, a choice to prioritize your peace over your pride, your growth over your grievances. The art of letting go is a lifelong practice, one that we return to again and again. Each time we release, we grow a little stronger, a little freer. Embrace this practice and watch as it transforms not just how you navigate life's challenges, but how you experience its beauty. Let go and let yourself soar. Imagine walking through a dense forest, the trees towering around you, their branches creating a canopy that filters the sunlight. The path ahead is uncertain, shrouded in mystery, yet there's an undeniable pull guiding you forward. This journey is not about reaching a destination, but about discovering the treasures hidden within you, the virtues that illuminate your way and give meaning to every step you take. Virtue is the compass that directs us through life's complexities. It's not about perfection, but about striving for moral excellence in everything we do. Wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These pillars of Stoicism are not lofty ideals, but practical tools for navigating the challenges we face daily. They ground us, shape us, and elevate us to live with purpose and integrity. Wisdom is the ability to see clearly, to understand what matters and what doesn't. It's the light that cuts through the fog of confusion, helping us discern the right path when faced with difficult choices. I recall a time when I was caught in a heated conflict at work. My initial impulse was to react defensively, but wisdom urged me to pause, reflect, and respond with understanding rather than anger. That moment of clarity transformed what could have been a divisive confrontation into an opportunity for growth and collaboration. Courage, on the other hand, is the strength to act despite fear. It's not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward in its presence. I remember standing on the edge of a life-changing decision, my heart pounding with uncertainty. The fear of failure was overwhelming, but courage whispered, "Take the leap." And so I did, stepping into the unknown with trembling hands, but a steady resolve. That act of bravery not only opened doors I never thought possible, but also revealed to me a reservoir of inner strength I hadn't known existed. Justice is the commitment to fairness, to treating others with respect and dignity. It's about seeing beyond ourselves and recognizing the interconnectedness of all lives. There was a time when I witnessed someone being unfairly criticized in a group setting. It would have been easy to stay silent, to blend into the background, but justice compelled me to speak up, to defend what was right. That moment of standing for someone else's dignity deepened my own sense of integrity and connection. Temperance, the art of moderation, is perhaps the most challenging virtue to cultivate in a world of excess. It's about finding balance, resisting the pull of extremes and savoring life in its simplicity. I used to chase every opportunity, driven by the fear of missing out. But over time, I learned that true fulfillment comes not from having more, but from appreciating enough. By practicing temperance, I found a sense of peace that no abundance could provide. Living a virtuous life doesn't mean avoiding mistakes or challenges. It means meeting them with a steadfast commitment to these principles. Each choice we make, no matter how small, becomes a reflection of our values. There have been times when I faltered, when I acted out of alignment with the virtues I hold dear. But those moments became lessons, opportunities to recalibrate and grow. Virtue is not a destination. It's a journey, a continual process of striving and refining. Reflect on your own life. How often do you make decisions that align with your deepest values? When was the last time you chose courage over comfort, justice over convenience, or temperance over indulgence? These moments, though they may seem small, shape the trajectory of our lives. They build character, foster resilience, and create a sense of fulfillment that external achievements alone can never provide. Virtue also connects us to something greater than ourselves. When we act with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we contribute to a world that is more compassionate, fair, and harmonious. Our actions ripple outward, touching the lives of others and inspiring them to do the same. In this way, living virtuously is not just a personal endeavor, it's a contribution to the collective good. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." This wisdom calls us to embody the virtues we admire, to live them fully and unapologetically. It's a reminder that our actions speak louder than our words, that the way we live each day is the truest reflection of who we are. So, as you navigate your own path, let virtue be your guide. Embrace wisdom to see clearly, courage to act boldly, justice to treat others with kindness, and temperance to find balance. These virtues are the roots that ground you, the wings that lift you, and the light that guides you forward. Let them shape your journey and infuse every step with purpose and meaning. In doing so, you'll not only transform your own life, but also leave an indelible mark on the world around you. Imagine waking up to a sunrise, the sky painted with soft hues of gold and pink. The day stretches before you, filled with endless possibilities, but instead of rushing headlong into the demands of life, you pause for a moment to take it all in. You feel a deep sense of gratitude, not for anything extraordinary, but for the simple fact that you are alive. This is the transformative power of thankfulness, a practice that can turn the mundane into the extraordinary and fill your life with light, even in the darkest times. Gratitude is more than a fleeting emotion. It's a lens through which we view the world. It shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have, cultivating a mindset of abundance. I learned this lesson during a period of deep personal struggle. My days felt heavy, filled with more problems than solutions. Then, one evening, I decided to write down 3 things I was grateful for. At first, it felt forced, but as the days turned into weeks, I noticed a shift. The more I looked for things to be thankful for, the more I found. Gratitude became a lifeline, pulling me out of despair and into a place of hope. The beauty of gratitude is that it doesn't require grand gestures or monumental achievements. It thrives in the small, everyday moments, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the laughter of a friend, the quiet peace of a morning cup of coffee. These are the treasures that often go unnoticed, yet they hold the power to transform an ordinary day into something special. There's a profound wisdom in shifting our attention to the present moment and finding gratitude in the here and now. Too often, we are caught up in regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. missing the beauty of what's right in front of us. I remember walking through a park one autumn afternoon, lost in thought about a work project. As I looked up, I saw the golden leaves shimmering in the sunlight, their gentle rustling a reminder of life's quiet magic. In that moment, I felt a wave of gratitude, not just for the beauty around me, but for the awareness to notice it. Gratitude also has the power to reframe challenges. It doesn't erase pain or difficulty, but allows us to see the lessons hidden within them. I recall a time when I faced a significant setback, a failed project that left me questioning my abilities. At first, it felt like the end of the world. But as I reflected, I began to see the experience as a teacher. It had pushed me out of my comfort zone, forced me to grow, and taught me resilience. Gratitude for those lessons softened the sting of failure and turned it into a stepping stone for growth. Practicing gratitude daily can reshape not just your outlook, but your entire life. One simple yet profound exercise is to start and end your day with gratitude. In the morning, before your feet hit the floor, think of 3 things you're thankful for. At night, reflect on the day and find moments of gratitude, no matter how small. Over time, this habit rewires your mind to seek the good in every situation. Gratitude is also a powerful force in relationships. When we express appreciation for the people in our lives, we deepen our connections and strengthen our bonds. A kind word, a heartfelt thank you, or a small gesture of appreciation can make someone's day and remind them of their value. I remember writing a letter to a mentor who had profoundly impacted my life. Their response was filled with emotion, and that simple act of gratitude brought us even closer. Stoicism teaches us to embrace what we have rather than lament what we lack. Epictetus reminds us, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This perspective is liberating, shifting our focus from scarcity to abundance. It helps us see that life itself is a gift, filled with opportunities to cherish and celebrate. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring life's difficulties or pretending everything is perfect. Instead, it's about finding light, even in the shadows, acknowledging the beauty that exists alongside the challenges. It's a practice of resilience, reminding us that no matter how hard life gets, there is always something to be thankful for. So take a moment to pause and reflect. What are you grateful for right now? Perhaps it's the roof over your head, the food on your table, or the love of those around you. Maybe it's the strength that's carried you through tough times, or the lessons you've learned along the way. Whatever it is, hold it close. Let gratitude be your anchor, grounding you in the present and filling your heart with joy. In embracing thankfulness, you'll discover a richness in life that no amount of material wealth can match, a richness that comes from appreciating the beauty of what you already have. Picture a mirror in a quiet room, reflecting not just your image but the depths of your soul. This mirror doesn't show you the surface. It reveals the essence of who you are, your strengths, your flaws, your aspirations, and your fears. To look into this mirror is to embark on the profound journey of self-discovery, a path that leads to authenticity, growth, and ultimately freedom. Knowing yourself is the foundation of wisdom. It's a truth echoed by ancient philosophers, and yet, in the rush of daily life, it's a truth often neglected. I remember a time when I felt adrift, unsure of who I was or what I truly wanted. I had spent so long chasing the expectations of others that I had lost touch with myself. It wasn't until I paused and began to reflect that I started to find clarity. Reflection is the key to self-discovery. It's about asking the hard questions. Who am I? What do I value? What drives me? These questions aren't always easy to answer, and they often uncover uncomfortable truths. But it's in facing these truths that we grow. I began this process by journaling every evening, capturing not just the events of the day but my thoughts, feelings and reactions. Over time, patterns emerged, patterns that revealed both my strengths and the areas where I needed to grow. Self-awareness is a powerful tool. When you understand your triggers, you can choose your responses rather than reacting impulsively. When you know your values, you can align your actions with them, creating a sense of integrity and purpose. For me, understanding that I valued creativity and connection helped me make choices that honored those values, whether it was pursuing a career that allowed for self-expression or prioritizing meaningful relationships over superficial ones. One of the most challenging aspects of self-discovery is confronting your flaws. It's tempting to turn away from the parts of ourselves that we don't like, to bury them under layers of distraction or denial. But true growth comes from shining a light on these shadows and embracing them with compassion. I recall a moment when I realized how often I sought validation from others. At first, this realization stung, but it also empowered me to work on building self-acceptance. Meditation became a cornerstone of this journey. Each morning, I would sit in silence, focusing on my breath and observing my thoughts without judgment. This practice helped me become aware of the stories I told myself, the limiting beliefs that had held me back for so long. By questioning these narratives, I began to rewrite them, replacing self-doubt with self-belief. Self-discovery also involves celebrating your strengths. Too often, we focus on what we lack, forgetting to acknowledge what we bring to the table. I made a habit of listing 3 things I did well each day, no matter how small. This simple practice shifted my focus from inadequacy to empowerment and reminded me of the unique gifts I have to offer. Another powerful exercise was seeking feedback from trusted friends and mentors. Sometimes others can see qualities in us that we overlook or undervalue. Their insights helped me gain a more complete picture of myself, highlighting both the traits I was proud of and the blind spots I needed to address. Self-discovery is not a one-time event, but a lifelong journey. As we grow and change, so does our understanding of who we are. It requires curiosity, humility, and a willingness to adapt. There will be moments when you feel lost or uncertain, but these moments are not setbacks. They are opportunities to deepen your understanding and refine your path. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." This wisdom reminds us that self-discovery is not just about knowing ourselves, but about shaping ourselves. By choosing thoughts, actions, and beliefs that align with our highest values, we become the person we aspire to be. Take a moment to look into your own mirror. What do you see? What truths are waiting to be uncovered? The journey of self-discovery is not always easy, but it is profoundly rewarding. In knowing yourself, you find your anchor, your compass, and your guide. You uncover the unique brilliance that is you, and in doing so, you gain the courage to live authentically, unapologetically, and wholeheartedly. This journey is yours to take, and every step brings you closer to the extraordinary person you were always meant to be. Picture yourself standing in a crowded room where voices rise and emotions swirl. You can feel the energy shift as someone snaps in frustration or lashes out in anger. Now imagine yourself in that same room, calm and collected, a steady presence amidst the storm. This is the power of emotional mastery, not suppressing your feelings, but understanding and channeling them with purpose and clarity. Emotions are like waves. They rise, peak, and eventually fall. But when we resist them or act impulsively, we risk being swept away. I learned this the hard way during a challenging period in my life when stress seemed to dominate every interaction. I would lash out at small irritations, later regretting my words and actions. It wasn't until I started observing my emotions rather than being ruled by them that I discovered a sense of control I never thought possible. The first step to emotional mastery is awareness. Before you can manage your emotions, you must recognize them. I began by pausing whenever I felt overwhelmed, asking myself, what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? This practice of naming my emotions, anger, fear, sadness, helped me distance myself from them, turning overwhelming sensations into manageable experiences. Mindfulness became a critical tool in this process. By focusing on the present moment, I learned to ground myself, even in the midst of intense emotions. When anger arose, I would take a deep breath, feeling the air enter my lungs and slowly release. This simple act created a pause, a space between stimulus and response, allowing me to choose my next step consciously rather than reactively. One of the most transformative lessons I learned was reframing my perspective on emotions. Instead of seeing them as problems to be fixed, I began to view them as signals, clues pointing to deeper needs or values. Anger, for example, often highlighted a boundary that had been crossed. Sadness reminded me of what I cared about deeply. By listening to these signals, I could address the underlying issues rather than being consumed by the surface reaction. Stoicism introduced me to the concept of premeditatio malorum, or preparing for adversity. Each morning, I would spend a few minutes imagining potential challenges and how I might respond to them with calm and grace. This mental rehearsal strengthened my resilience, making it easier to stay composed when difficulties arose. Another powerful practice was emotional distancing, inspired by Stoic teachings. Instead of saying, "I am angry," I would say, "There is anger present." This subtle shift reminded me that emotions are not my identity. They are temporary states that come and go. By observing them rather than identifying with them, I could let them pass without letting them take control. Gratitude also played a surprising role in emotional mastery. When faced with frustration or disappointment, I would challenge myself to find something to be grateful for in the situation. This reframing not only softened the intensity of negative emotions, but also reminded me of the bigger picture. Even in moments of challenge, there were still things to appreciate. It's important to acknowledge that emotional mastery is not about suppressing or ignoring your feelings. Suppression creates pressure, and eventually that pressure finds a way to release, often in ways that are harmful. Instead, it's about accepting your emotions, understanding them, and choosing how to respond. This balance between acceptance and control is where true power lies. Imagine a time when you reacted impulsively and later regretted it. Now picture how differently that moment could have unfolded if you had paused, taken a deep breath, and chosen a response aligned with your values. Emotional mastery doesn't mean you won't feel anger, sadness, or frustration. It means these emotions no longer dictate your actions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wisdom is a reminder that while we cannot control the circumstances of life, we can always control how we respond to them. By mastering our emotions, we reclaim our power, turning challenges into opportunities for growth. Reflect on your own emotional landscape. What triggers you? How do you typically respond? What would it look like to meet those moments with calm and clarity instead? This journey requires patience and practice, but the rewards are profound. Emotional mastery allows you to navigate life's highs and lows with grace, to build deeper and more meaningful relationships, and to cultivate a sense of inner peace that cannot be shaken.